Hey guys, on today's episode, we're working on this 2005 GMC 3500 Duramax diesel from the lift guys. These are the guys that are maintaining my in-ground lifts. When they showed up, I opened up the door and went, oh my gosh, this is a hot mess. So on today's episode, we're gonna be cleaning this disaster. Greg.
Hey, it's still good, man.
That's still
good.
That's still usable.
Look at that. Look at that.
So as a bit of a backstory, every year I have Levin from the lift guys maintain my BenPack lifts for annual checkups and testing and so on. But this year I got the new Taycan and it's going up in the air and it weighs 5,200 pounds. So I don't want to be under it unless Levin gives me a clean bill of health. Naturally, while testing the system with the Mazda on the lift, he noticed a piston seal leaking, which isn't uncommon with daily use, but because it's under warranty, he could just order a new piston and install it next week before my upcoming Taycan first full wash, polish, new wheels, tints, bra, and coating episode that will, of course, require the lift. I knew we were going to be friends immediately. Look at this.
I know.
964. On his way out of the studio, I wanted to say goodbye to my favorite puppy, Rizzy, one last time, and in the process of getting all my kisses, I took a good look at the inside of his truck, and needless to say, friends don't let friends drive this dirty, so he is going to leave it over the weekend so that I could help him out as much as he is helping me stay safe, so here we go. The inside is clearly disgusting, but much more oil and grease present than any other truck I've done in the past. Now, obviously, it's because his hands are just covered in grease daily, and you combine that with Rizzy getting in and out, and this just needed a decontamination really bad. So the outside, same sort of thing. It was neglected, it was dull, and of course the bed of the truck was oxidizing quickly. That was kind of unique for me, but when I was chatting with him the previous day, Levin explained that he paints the truck every year so that it slows the rate of rust or oxidation. It got me thinking that I could just add a bit of rust inhibitor first, then paint over that while the interior was drying, that sort of thing. So you're gonna watch me later in the episode actually paint with a roller the backside of this truck. For now, step one is to put on my mask and gloves and remove the garbage, the clothing, and seat covers that he wanted to completely remove due to the horrible smell. Next, I filled up the steamer and gave it a few minutes to heat up while I was doing my initial vacuum to avoid clogging my steam machine later with larger debris on the floor. As you can see, the rugs were completely disgusting and covered in spills, I think coffee, I'm not sure, and then just soaked with grease from his boots getting in and out of lift jobs. Same thing on the door sills, they were a complete nightmare. I'm not even sure how you can get these that dirty. They were just like caked in junk. Pretty much the same thing on all the plastics as well, brown and black with greasy hands for years. You could actually smell the oils when you got inside the car. That was kind of a unique thing for me. I'd never smelt that before. To start off on the interior, I worked from top to bottom, in this case the filthy headliner, and it can be really tricky to work on, especially if it's starting to sag as this one is right now. Now, because the material is incredibly thin, over soaking it or over scrubbing it can cause permanent damage. To clean such a large surface, meaning the entire headliner, instead of just a small spot clean, I used a DA polisher with a microfiber finishing pad, a few light squirts of shag fabric cleaner, and I used that on speed 1 or 2 to keep it very slow. Now, this will agitate the surface to remove the stain without actually twisting or pulling the delicate material. I then repeated the steps on the entire headliner, and the before and after was amazing. Next up was the plastic door. Now, because of the amount of oil and how much of the door was actually covered in this oil and grease, I used the drill brush, which I normally do not use. But I noticed that the material was strong enough to withstand the larger or more aggressive brush. But in the tight spots, I used the normal or my soft interior brush to kind of agitate those tight areas. As always, use compressed air for your final blowout. For complete interior disasters, I occasionally use the aerator with lather interior cleaner just to cover more area quickly with foam. To do this, I added roughly 3 to 4 ounces of lather to 40 ounces of water and gave it a good pump. In this situation, I am completely okay with the overspray from the aerator and the drill brush. This interior is a hot mess, so if it's spraying everywhere, it's fine. You're going to wipe it up in a little bit anyways. After round 1 of cleaning, I removed most of the heavy oils, but to really bring back the original condition, I needed to introduce heat from the steamer in some locations and just a brush in others. When you're working on really dirty interiors, one of the cleaning sort of secrets is to combine your cleaner with warm or hot water. In this case, I'm using lather plus the steamer on the seat bottom and the seat back, and it makes a huge difference because the warm water molecules move faster than cold water molecules, essentially making the cleaning faster. In other words, the bonds that adhere the dirt to the seat are dissolved quicker with the steam vapor, while the bonds between the detergent, in this case lather, and the dirt are formed quicker and are stabilized in the cleaning solution long enough to just be wiped away from the surface before they adhere or basically dry again and stick to the seat. The bottom line is this: the combination of your favorite cleaner and steam speed up the cleaning process than just common mechanical or scrubbing alone can provide. That's why using heat with your cleaning product yields faster results, especially on a disaster interior. Time is money. On harder plastics like the kick panel area, I tend to use stronger mechanical abrasives because the material is not as sensitive or porous as, let's say, a leather seat. So I may be able to use a bit more brute force to get the level of cleanliness I'm looking for. Okay, now check this out. This is a perfect example of deep cleaning being sped up on an oily or horrible seat. Here you can see a huge difference with the steam and the detergent in the form of bubbles lifting the oils that would take way longer to achieve by just brush alone in that short period of cleaning time. Again, I want to be clear, it doesn't mean using the brush alone is wrong for, let's say, spot cleaning, but if you introduce heat along with that brush, you're going to speed up that cleaning process, especially on interiors that are disaster, and you have a lot of it to do. Now take a look when I clean the rest of the seat bottom. Look at the bubbles that were created. That's the broken bonds dissolving and floating or suspending in that detergent before I just scooped it away. It is a night and day difference. I repeated the same steps on the doors. Before I started cleaning the carpets, I put all of the removable cup holders and trays in a bucket of degreaser mixed with water after giving it a light scrub with my brush and allowing it just to kind of sit and dissolve all the caked on junk inside the bucket while I played with the floors. For the rugs, I used a steam vac again because Levin needed the truck back a little bit earlier than expected because his third truck was actually tied up at the mechanics longer than expected, so I switched to steam instead of hot water to minimize the dry time with this new information. Same concept as before. You can pre-treat with a degreaser, then use mechanical agitation with a drill brush, then maybe a steam and vacuum, or some sort of combination of these tools that works best for you based on how much dry time you have. Keep in mind, sometimes the carpet itself is so damaged or simply worn out that it can't be cleaned because the fibers are just not there due to aggressive use. So don't chase your tail trying to get a discolored stain out that is actually just permanent fabric damage. Next, I focused on door jambs, which were abnormally greasy and full of gunk more than any other car I've seen in a long time. My guess is it has something to do with the fact that it's diesel. I'm not totally sure, but it was abnormal. So I pre-treated with Titan 12 degreaser and moved on to the power washing process with warm water. Then I soaked the paint in Boost anti-salt wash from the foamer, and you could almost hear the truck going, ah. Next, I cleaned the wheels. Then I washed the paint, cleaned the diesel engine, then I focused on the pre-treated door jambs with my wheel cleaning tools. Now, a lot of you may be thinking right off the bat, like, hey, this is a little bit of overkill. Why is he working underneath the door? The irony is the rest of the stuff that we did over here, the door inside, that's actually probably overkill, unnecessary, right? This is absolutely necessary. If you look very closely here, you can see it's starting to oxidize, meaning it's starting to rust, and eventually it's going to come through the other side of the door. Why? Because this junk, the salt, the oils, the water has just been sitting here forever, probably 10, 15 years, and no one's ever cleaned it. And as you can see, as it piles up, it just forms that oxidation, and within probably a year or two, it's going to come through here. Did we stop it? No, but we probably slowed it down enough that it's going to give it another couple of years of life without just wrecking this door. Afterwards, I rinsed again, used compressed air to dry everything before starting the paint polishing process with a medium yellow wool pad and DA course. And after just one pass, the before and after was absolutely massive. Obviously, the goal here isn't just to create a concourse finish, but it's healthy to remove oxidized or dry clear coat before adding protection. Besides, it's just looking a whole lot better than it did before. The headlights were a bit of a different story. This was more of a necessity than, let's say, a nicety like the paint. As you can see, they're a bit hazy and not as clear as they should be. So what I did was first lightly misted water and used a 2000 grit foam disc I basically had just sitting around the shop. Even with this tool, notice the white slurry that is left behind. This is totally normal. Also, I went from left to right on your screen. Keep that in mind. See how the finish is now white or kind of scratched up after I wiped it with a microfiber towel, and it looks even worse. Again, this is normal. For step number 2, I did another light mist of water, used 3000 grit in a northeast to southwest direction. It's what we call a cross cut to avoid huge valleys in the plastic. Again, I just grabbed a random 6-inch sanding disc, so it's not exactly ideal, but it did do the job. When I finished this step, the plastic was still white, but not as bad as step number 1. Now, to remove the 3000 grit scratches, I used a 3-inch wool course pad and blue compound. Afterwards, I used a yellow pad and yellow polish for an absolutely perfect finish. Finally, for protection, I added Ammo Reflex Pro coating, allowed it to cure for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then removed the excess to deter future oxidation or hazing. The before and after is always great, but this is really about safety at night and where the real difference matters. Okay, the truck is really starting to come along now. We did the interior, I polished the outside, we fixed the headlights, which was a huge difference. And then on the rear here, as you can see, it is literally flaking off, it's rusted, it doesn't look very good. Now, when I spoke to Levin, he is a good buddy of mine. I kind of can't do a lot of the work that I do here without having my lifts, and he's the guy that maintains my lifts. So we have a good relationship, and when I was chatting with him, he's like, yeah, I think this truck, I want to see how long I can keep it until the bed basically falls apart, which it kind of is right now, but it's sort of at that teetering point. So I'm going to surprise him and do a little bit just to kind of keep this, to slow the rate of oxidation on this. I'm not going to make it brand new. It's not going to be perfect, but if it gives him another year, another 6 months, another 2 years, whatever, that's more than what he was expecting. So I'm pretty excited to surprise him. I'm going to take a little bit of scuff pad here, go in and just kind of knock off all the stuff. A ton of it's coming off right now. And then I'm going to put some rust reformer on there, let it sit for a little bit, and then probably roll some hardcore paint on there and just have this thing sort of live to fight another day. Step 1 is to lightly scuff the bed before adding rust reformer. While the rust reformer was drying, I cleaned the disgusting floor mats. Now, FYI, it was so cold outside that I had to barely open the garage door just to stay warm while I blasted the dirt underneath the door. Bright and early the next morning, I started the paint process on the bed, which I've never said before. I'm using Rust-Oleum high-performance protective enamel in gloss black, based on the discussions I had with Levin outside a few days ago when I asked him what he was using to cover the bed. For the record, I'm clearly plowing this stuff onto the bed to extend the working life of the truck. It needs to be sanded completely or just replaced, but for now, a Band-Aid will get him through another season at least. In the tight spots, I of course used a regular paintbrush instead of the roller to ensure that my Picasso was museum ready. While the paint was drying and my hair was curling from the fumes in the studio, I cleaned the windows from Rizzy's nose prints, packed up some good stuff, and tossed away all the junk in the garbage before scrubbing the Lift Guy signage with Titan 12 degreaser. Finally, I applied Reflex Pro to the paint, quickly hand polished the hubcaps with yellow polish and a microfiber towel, added tire dressing to the rubber, engine, and mirrors to add a bit of contrast and depth to the detail. Is this completely unnecessary on a work truck? Probably right, but I just spent 2 days cleaning and painting this nightmare, so adding dressing was more for me than for Levin. Lastly, I reinstalled the cup holders, trays, and rubber mats before fixing his headliner after allowing it to dry for over 24 hours after yesterday's cleaning. To do this, lightly coat both the headliner cushion and the sagging fabric with fabric adhesive found at any auto parts store. Now, the trick here is to not over soak it and to allow it to dry for about 3 to 5 minutes. It depends on which one you're using and, of course, the humidity in your area before pushing it back into place with a hard card or a credit card of some kind. Now, this isn't difficult to do, but if you rush it, it will sag again, so take your time. Okay, after 3 days, this thing is looking 1,000 times better. Now, what makes this extra special for me is not only is Levin a buddy, but he works on my lift and he keeps me safe. So the idea is it's sort of like two trades working together. If I can keep this truck on the road for an extra 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, and he stays in business, that's a good thing. One, because I need him to come and make sure that I'm safe. As soon as I lift the car up, I want to make sure that I don't get crushed underneath, that kind of thing. Plus, at the same time, with today's economy, you can't just go get a truck these days. You have to just maintain it and sort of keep it up. And that's what I think we did here and extended the life a little bit. So I'm pretty excited. So in the next couple of days, he is actually coming in to pick this thing up. We're getting a massive snowstorm right now, so it's going to hide in here. And when he comes in, I'm super excited to surprise him with his new old work truck.
Hey there, Scott.
Good to see you.
Wow.
There she is.
Wow.
Now you get to get in here and make a mess.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, man, this thing was a hot mess. We actually ended up putting the headliner back up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. The middle console, we took all this apart and kind of
I didn't even know the leather was actually a different color.
Yeah, we took the cover off of that.
Jeez.
Same thing with the back. This is your area, right? This is where you make a mess. We shampooed all the rugs. You see, these were not this color beforehand. That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, that's the business, and then. Get on in.
All right. Enjoy, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you. The dog's already making a mess. I love it. If you enjoy and learn from these videos, please support the channel by subscribing and taking a second to turn on the notification button, which will alert you when a new video comes out. And of course, visiting my website, ammonyc.com, for more helpful car care tips. And you're not going to want to miss our upcoming Lamborghini Countach barn find and detail. Completely insane. You have to sign up for that. As always, thanks for supporting independent content creators, and I'll see you very soon.